Hi, I'm Jason Bryan from the Short-Time Wrestling Podcast and founder of the Mat Talk Podcast Network. Shows on the network are individually owned and operated, and those opinions presented and expressed may not reflect others, the sponsors, patrons, or the parent network. Find more shows about the greatest sport in the world at the Mat Talk Podcast Network at mattalkonline.com.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pac Wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
Wolfpack Wrestling season's getting so very close, and with that, we're obviously going to be pumping out more content. And of course, we are back with another episode of the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. No Pat Popolizio today. We're actually recording this at 5:30, and he has already left the building. So in his place, special guest in studio from the ACC Network, broadcaster Rock Harrison. Rock, thanks for joining us on the podcast today.
I appreciate the invitation. It's been great thus far. Watching practice, been a great adrenaline rush, and I'm ready to watch some Wolfpack Wrestling this year.
You talked to every coach that we had. I think you talked to almost every guy on the team, and you said to almost everybody how excited you were to watch wrestling practice. You can feel it's close. What is this time of the year? How much excitement do you have?
I'm floating on anticipation, and I can't wait for things to happen because after the NCAAs, it's kind of like that dry season. Granted, there's Olympics, but you just get that feel. You know, it starts to get a little crisp outside, and then, you know, it's about time to start cutting weight and watching wrestling. And watching you all wrestle, it was a great progression of just talking about technique, then start do drilling, and then start situation, and then live, and then conditioning. It was great because the guys were ready, and it was early in the season, so I'm pumped.
I guess for our fans, we should backtrack a little bit. Former wrestler at UVA. Tell us a little bit about your wrestling career.
Wrestling career, was won the state championships a couple times in Maryland. Wrestled at UVA. I was the best I did was third place at the ACC tournament, and back in those days, it was top two got to go. So I never got to go as a wrestler, and then I made the transition to officiating. So started off in high school, and then started doing D1 qualifiers, and then I was asked to come on board and do the ACC tournament on a digital level. And then when we launched the ACC Network, they asked me to be on board, and it has been a joy. When I say a joy, it is unbelievable that I get paid to talk about wrestling. So this is one of the best jobs I've ever had. But it doesn't mean it's easy, but it's just enjoyable.
So Rock, that's a wrestling name. I assume your mom knew you were going to be a wrestler when she named you Rock.
Actually, she named me Gerard. But what happened was the name Rock never came from wrestling. So people immediately think that it's Rock because you're wrestling, you're strong and tough. And I like to smile about it. But it's because when I was in first grade, I couldn't swim. And they would put me in the pool, and they said I would sink to the bottom of the pool like a rock. And because I didn't have any fat on me, I was lean and it wasn't very buoyant. But you know, you get older and you get some buoyancy around your waist. I float really well right now.
Okay. I still can't swim. But you said that you started out on the digital platform, moved to the ACC Network. You have been doing ACC duels for the last couple of seasons. Obviously, there have been some great ACC duels. We're talking, this conference has really taken off. You're in a really good spot here to be able to announce all these matches now.
It is, I'm not going to say a dream come true, but it is a wonderful experience. And the reason why I tell it every time I go on an interview, the reason why the ACC is good is because of the administrations, the coaches, and the fan base. And the administrations, they have to be behind. And clearly at NC State, your administration is behind you all, and you all have been very successful. But then you just have to have the talent. And ACC has talents, not just basketball or lacrosse or football, but you also have the talent in this arena, but also the fan base. The fan base really drives, and when they're a ravenous fan base, they expect greatness. When you expect greatness, the wrestlers have to perform, the coaches got to perform, and of course the administration here. So the fans that are listening right now, you all are very vital to making sure that we have a great conference. And I'm telling you, we are such a concentrated, strong conference. Only 6 teams, but tell me what of the 6 teams you don't want to wrestle. I mean, they're all teams that are just so exciting. So I think that we are in a position to really, really make a statement in the nation, not just this year, but for years to come.
I know you're supposed to be unbiased. You're here at NC State. So I'm going to ask very pro NC State questions, but I believe it was 2 years ago, you guys broadcasted the Carolina Duel inside Reynolds, 4,300 fans. Did you know that something special was happening that day? I know we have the support and everything here, but that crowd was unbelievable. As an announcer, did you feel something special that day?
I tell you, the one that I really felt good about was the Virginia Tech NC State when it was the home match 2 years ago, when it really went back and forth, because the week before it was the Carolina, and we said, well, maybe that's just the one-off at UNC. But the very next week, it was Virginia Tech and North Carolina State. And the fans were absolutely crazy. But we knew that because we had a sideline reporter. So we're like, this is going to be a big deal. And I couldn't believe how loud it got in there. When there was a fall, the place erupted. And I could feel the adrenaline. I'm grabbing Sean Kenny, my play-by-play, and he's holding his shoulder because I'm grabbing too hard. I mean, it was just an exciting moment. And the way there was just pins back and forth. And, of course, you all came out on top. But it was a great experience. That was the one that really stood out.
You asked Trombley about the pin today.
Oh, man, it was awesome because after he won and I talked to him, I said, so what happened? He said, I don't know. I just took over and I just started flexing, doing dumb stuff. It wasn't dumb. It was a great television. And so he flexed his arm. He gave us an arm shrug. And that's what we want. We want to move the needle so that when people watch wrestling, they say, wow, this isn't boring. So the people, there's three types of people that I have to speak to on any broadcast. The hardcore wrestling fans. You got to talk to them because they will watch any type of wrestling match wherever you want to, but you got to respect them and talk about the nuances. Then there's the movable middle. Those are the ones that may have watched or done wrestling in high school, but they didn't know that the first period in college is 3 minutes, or they don't know what riding time is, but they understand the basic concepts. So I got to make sure I speak to them. And then there's the last portion, and those are the ones that have no idea what wrestling is. They don't know what a singlet is. They don't know what a stand-up is. Those are the people that were watching the show, went to the other rooms, and they came back on and said, what is going on? I've got to reach out to those. Those are the ones that I'm really trying to reach out to. So when the fans, give me a little grief and say, you explain too much, I'm trying to explain to the people that have no idea what anything is. So they'll come back and watch it. Maybe we can grow our viewership by 10% each year. We'll do something.
I think that's a great point, because I have heard so many people that came to that Carolina Virginia Tech duel 2 years ago say, I had no idea what was going on, but I knew something special was happening. I just wanted to be in this building. And that kind of leads me to my next question. COVID hit last year. Obviously, it was very scaled down. You guys were not allowed to be inside the buildings. You guys had to broadcast from home. You had a great moment. It went viral. Caught on that. Unfortunately, it was against us, but still, it was a great moment. But how different was your job? Harder last year from home, not being in that environment and conveying the excitement?
I thought so. For me, I thought it was very hard because I feed off of the sound of the crowd as well. And also I get to see more of the mat. I can see what the referee is doing. I can see what the coaches are doing. But when I'm watching on television, I'm only limited to the angles that they give me. So when I did do it at home, the challenge I had was, well, I want to get into it, but am I too loud? Because it's quiet in my basement, and I don't want my wife to yell at me, Rock, be quiet. My son's trying to sleep. So I had to be kind of scaled back in a sense. But the great thing about it was I was able to really just watch it as a fan. Just like the fans at home are watching, I could actually get into it, see the screen. And obviously the moment that happened, I want to be authentic. And that's the thing that I try to convey in broadcasting, remain authentic, because the wrestling fans are really smart. They know who's a fraud and they know who's genuine. And the wrestling fans, they deserve someone that's tries to be authentic. And the moment happened, unfortunately, it didn't go in NC State's direction, but I mean, it was great TV. And if we can get more eyes, that's the better for the sport.
It's great TV. We got it back at the ACC tournament. So it all evened out in the end. But you're getting ready for this upcoming season. We still don't know the TV schedule yet. We're still working on that. But obviously, you're here in Raleigh, checking out NC State practice. The Rock World Tour is going on right now. Kind of explain to our listeners what you're doing this preseason and just how you're getting ready for the upcoming year.
Without a shadow of a doubt, I think that the product that the ACC offers for wrestling is a great product. And so I took it upon myself to say, I can only learn so much by doing a Google search or phone call, I want to kind of kick the tires. I want to go to every school and see what their culture is like, see what's going on, how they're adapting, and then just talk to the kids. Are they good kids? Are they a bunch of jerks? And I wanted to be there. So I took it upon myself to go and visit every school and just to see what's going on, to see what I'm talking about, because my goal is to make sure we have the best broadcast in the nation. Not saying that there aren't other good ones. I want to make sure that we have the best. And so I need to get better. I need to make sure that I know my wrestlers. When I say my wrestlers, the ones that I cover, I want to make sure that I know them. I want to know what the coaches are thinking so that when there's a moment, I can explain certain things. Like when I talked to Trombley today, he said 80% of wrestling for him is mental. So now I have that in my mental Rolodex. So when he's in a tough match and he pulls it out, I can say it's because he said 80% of wrestling is mental, and that's something that he worked upon. Could I have gotten that off of a Google search? Absolutely not. So I want to make sure that I am the best person that I can be to analyze something for the fans of the ACC and the fans across the country.
I think it is great. Like us in communications, we're constantly trying to give you guys stories about our guys. We're putting it in game notes. We're trying to write stories, but nothing can beat face-to-face.
No.
And fortunately, today worked out pretty good. You got to beat a lot of our guys.
Oh, yeah.
Young guys, old guys, 24-year-olds, 18-year-olds. We joked with Hayden about that, just the difference. And us, the coaching staff took you out to lunch and all that.
Great lunch.
I feel like it was a productive day.
It's very productive. And that's what I wanted to feel. Just what is a typical day? Not come into the room, have a conversation with Rock. Next conversation. Just what happens organically? How do they operate in practice? Who comes over and speaks, and what's their personality? I ask guys all the time, who's the funniest guy in the room? That's not a typical wrestling question. Wrestling question, who's the toughest guy on top? Who cares? I want to learn that personality. So they had that. I want to make sure that we unveil the stereotypical view of a wrestler as being, hard-headed and just tough and doesn't have a personality. These guys have great personalities. And one of the things that I've noticed about NC State guys was that they were very polite. Came over and spoke, and I'm not saying that it wasn't natural or coaching to make them, but it was just, very considerate. And one of the things I want to make sure I say to the viewing audience, tell you about the character of the NC State team. I got hit with COVID pretty bad this year. I was supposed to do the NCAAs and be the analyst there, so I was really excited about that. After I did the Big 12, went to the ER, COVID, was in the hospital for 12 days, on a ventilator for 3 days, and, I was close to checking out. But the Lord has been gracious to me, and I was able to pull out. And so soon after, I went home, went through the text messages and emails, and I went through my mail. And fans, your wrestlers are wonderful people, because I opened up one of my cards, and one of the cards came from the NC State wrestling team with the wrestlers signing their names on it. I boo-hooed. And my wife was like, why are you crying? I was like, NC State days. I don't know. So they're such nice kids, such good kids. And that's just something that they'll take with them for the rest of their lives. So if you're supporting the NC State fan base, team, they're good kids. They're good kids. I'm telling you from a personal standpoint, they have no relationship to me, but they sent me a card telling me, to hang in there and we're cheering for you. So I'm getting emotional now, but it's great.
I appreciate you telling that story, because when we first talked, you contacted me, asked to come down. You wanted to say, Brian, I want to learn about the culture of NC State. We're really trying to drive what culture is here. I think that is a great example of what the culture is. You got to see it firsthand. Saw a little practice. You didn't get out there and run after practice. I didn't notice. I thought you were going to get up at one point and jump in a drill there, but now you kind of laid low a little bit.
Today, next time.
Talk about the intensity of practice. No one ever gets to come to an NC State, not just NC State, but a college wrestling practice. How much do these guys go through in 2 hours?
I'm a former college wrestler, and watching practice today made me realize that these guys go so much harder than I thought I was going through. And one of the things that they did was a progression. Technique, still very important to learn technique. After technique, practice. Practice what you learn. Now you drill the things that you do well. And then there was semi-lives. They said put your hands on them, and then on the whistle, then you go live for a little bit. After that, it goes situational matches, and then a match. And then at the end, these guys did an absolute brutal conditioning. It wasn't just sprints, but they would do sprints, and the first two people got to sit out for the rest of the practice. And then the next sprint, the next first two people set out. So you had to keep running and trying to win, and some of the guys were breaking mentally because they thought they won, but then they didn't. And that's all the structure of the coaching. The coach said, we want to put you in an adverse situation. So if you think you should have got a takedown, and an official doesn't give it to you, what are you going to do? You're going to pout? you know you're going to get back on the line. So that situation of thinking you won, but now you got to get back and keep running, that was something that was very, very strong to see. And wrestling practices are like none other. I don't care what sport you do a wrestling practice and you'll come watch wrestling.
None of the coaches jumped out there to run either. Just want that noted. It's funny how they all get up on the wall at the same time to watch, but none will participate.
Nope, they just blow their whistle and kind of laugh to themselves.
Yeah. Rock, thank you for jumping on the podcast, obviously, but thanks for spending the day with us. Our guys hear you, they see you guys on TV, but they really don't know you guys well. So I think this was a great opportunity for them too, just to get to talk to you. And some of these stories, like you said, you're going to be hearing them in the ACC Network podcast. You have a lot more stories about our guys than what we've heard before. And I think we're really going to look forward to some of the coverage this year on the ACC Network.
And I appreciate the invitation. You all have always been very kind to me, always open up your doors, and you all tell me the truth. And I appreciate that I don't have to go through layers to find out what's going on. And NC State fans, you all have something good going on. Appreciate it, because these programs don't stay around forever. But if you all stick around, they can stay around forever. And if you ever see me out, please say hello to me. You know, hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Instagram. Twitter's Rock Reacts, ROCKREAX. Hit me up, and I'd love to be engaged with the people that are supporting the ACC.
Obviously, on the podcast, I might have a little sarcastic tone, but you didn't have social media too long ago.
No.
Okay, I didn't want to call you out, but I'm just saying you didn't have social media too long ago.
I did not. It was asked and almost demanded by ESPN. I was like, look, after that thing I did with the state, they're like, you got to get on social media. I was like, no one cares. And then I got on there, and everyone's been, kind. I'm going to get trolled at some point, but at that point, I hope the NC State fans defend me and say, no, Rock's cool. Get off of there. So I'm hoping that once I get trolled, you all step up and defend me.
But it's just great to have someone out there talking more ACC wrestling. Yes. We need more people like that. And we appreciate everything you do for the ACC Network. Thank
you so much. Thank you
Rock,
so much.
Thanks again. Wolfpack Nation, stay tuned for today's featured interview. Before we get to today's featured interview, I want to share with Wolfpack fans a great new partnership for the Pack Mentality Poppins podcast. There's a brand new wrestling magazine on the block. It's over 200 pages long, has Keller interiors on shiny satin pages, and is perfect bound with a 1/2-inch spine. It's like a book. Introducing Grapple Alley, a magazine dedicated to highlighting the excellence of amateur wrestling. The first issue is out right now, and it includes poems, several pieces of fiction, true stories, interviews, and there's a section on workouts. It's great for wrestlers past, present, and future. You can read it on those long bus rides to faraway tournaments or in the stands between matches. Grapple Alley is printed with thick pages, keeping durability in mind for the rough and tumble life of a wrestler on the go. Grab your copy of Grapple Alley's first issue at grapplealley.net and use the code GrappleLaunch10 to get 10% off. Again, you can get this great new magazine at their website. It's grapplealley.net, GrappleAlley.net. And don't forget our promo code GrappleLaunch10 to get a discount. A percentage of Grapple Alley's profits goes to K9s for veterans. Joining us now on the Pack Mentality Poppins podcast, a guy decided to return for another season, Thomas Bullard. Thomas, welcome back to the podcast. We've had you on before.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
It's been a few years. I got to be honest with you. It's been a little while, but I said, Thomas, I don't know if I've ever called you by your first name. I'm a lot more confident this year. How are things going for you right now?
It's great. It's obviously a little weird not having Daniel up here training with me and going in the trenches with me, but I'm excited to be part of this team as always and perform for the Wolfpack.
Wolfpack Wrestling, we're down to one Bullard brother. Probably, unless you come back next year, no more Bullards. But all right, life update. What's Daniel up to?
So Daniel is back home in Georgia. He as you guys might know, he got married last fall. So him and his wife, Abby, are back home. Daniel is coaching and studying to take a certificate in essentially an entry-level IT certificate right now. So he's doing very well. I'm very happy with where he's at and getting started in his career.
What's the weight check on him?
I still think he's under 200 pounds, but he's getting up there. He's not getting fat either, though. He's hitting the weight room. I saw him. I was like, wow, you are a lot bigger than me right now.
So what is life like without a twin right now? I mean, you guys, high school, college, pretty much everywhere together. How has this last few months been?
It's obviously been an adjustment period. Even last year was a little bit of an adjustment period, but it's just a change in our relationship, less seeing on the day-to-day, more just, talking to him over the phone, catching up and, rooting each other on.
How often do you guys phone call, text? What is that right now?
I'll call him every day or so. Not every day, probably every other day.
How much Wolfpack wrestling does he like to check in on?
Oh, he's all about the ins and outs of everything I tell him. He's absorbing. He's still all about the team and supporting the guys. And he's planning on coming up for pretty much everything this year. So he's still all about the Wolfpack. You
guys were obviously redshirt seniors last year. It was a free year. He obviously decided to move on, got married. You decided to come back. I guess let's start with, why did you want to come back for another season of wrestling?
I really felt like I left a lot on the table last year. I didn't perform how I wanted to at the NCAAs, and I just had a lot of regret coming out of that season. I felt like I had a lot left to do, so I wasn't ready to move on. There's nothing really pulling me out of the sport. I'm still all in, so I was happy to come back. Thankful for the opportunity.
Was it a decision you made late? Was it really based on the NCAA results?
There was some factors of me not performing well at the NCAAs, but it was also, I wasn't ready to give up wrestling. It's something that's been part of my life since I was 4 or 5 years old, and it's something that I care about deeply. So if given the opportunity to come back and be on a team and compete, I was excited to be a part of. Going through last season, I wasn't always certain I was coming back, but after the season and realizing that I could be done, I realized I really wasn't ready.
6th year. So what? That puts you at 24, 25, 26? How?
24.
24. Okay. This new freshman class just got here. They're 18. They reminded some of you guys that they were still they weren't even in high school when you and Hayden and Tariq started. What kind of is the dynamic now with you and some of these younger guys and just the room in general?
There's definitely a broader age range than our team has ever had before. So it definitely does change how we interact with each other a little bit. Like, I love those guys. They're still my teammates, my brothers. We're going to go out there and we're going to go out there and compete this year. And we're looking forward to getting in the trenches with these guys. But it is, I have a hard time putting in words. It's just a different relationship with some of the younger guys, because it was a long time ago when I was in freshman or when I was in high school. So I don't really know how to put in words, to be honest.
Is it hard for you to balance kind of hanging out, talking to some of the younger guys, or do you have to make more of an effort to?
I'd say it's more of a balance to have everything: school, wrestling, the weight cut, balancing all that with making sure I'm putting in time with connecting with the guys on the team and making sure if they need anything, I'm there. So I'd say that's more of a balance. But as far as having a relationship, they're all great guys. So it's not hard to enjoy being around them and talking to them and seeing where they're at in life. So it's not as much of a balance to get to know them or hard to. It's just making sure you have time to be available.
Who are the roommates this year?
So this year I'm rooming with Jarrett Trombley, Tyree Houghton, and Hunter Lewis. They're all great guys. I roomed with Jarrett Trombley last year, so he's returning, and then Tyree and Hunter are new this year. Okay.
Any conflicts? Easy to get along with?
They're all great. So okay. I'm thankful for my roommates and for a great group of guys to just hold down the fort back home with.
I was going to say if you're going to talk bad about somebody. I didn't know. Another thing. Okay, so 2016, you're part of that #1 recruiting class in the country. Your brother, obviously yourself, Tariq, Hayden, Renan. You guys, 4 of you guys are still here. You ever think about back in the day when you guys came and got this whole process started, and now you're here and you're seeing the great recruiting results now, but your class kind of started the trend and all that, and now you guys are doing this extra year together and leaving together. How exciting is that? This core is still a core group for NC State.
Being a part of that recruiting class in my class has been it's been very special. It's been an honor to train with these guys, to get to know them. Obviously, they're fantastic people. I've roomed with Nick for years, and he's done amazing things on and off the mat. Tariq, Hayden, obviously, all these guys, they've accomplished great things, and they're great teammates to be around. So, am I proud to be a part of that group? 100%, yes. They're fantastic.
What has been the most positive change you've seen in NC State wrestling in your years here?
I'd say we are more focused. We're becoming more technical as a team. And I think just as a whole, the whole team is more focused and more bought in. There's been years where we'll have one or two guys just on the fringes, not really sure if they want to be here. I feel like we're more focused as a whole towards winning national titles and winning as a team. So I think the level of focus that we're having this year will put us to another level, and I think this team can get it done.
Who are you kind of working with? We're here. We're still waiting for the start of the season, but who are you working with in the room mostly now?
So if I'm going in on my own and doing technique, I'm primarily working with Kevin. But if I want to scrap, I'll go with Kevin. I'll go with Adam. Ed Scott's fantastic to roll with. Jake Knoll I'll roll with sometimes. There's a lot of guys that I can go in and got to be ready to compete with all of them. So,
do you think the talent level has gotten a lot better here?
I do.
Does that help everybody? Like, obviously, you might have your established starters like yourself. You've been a 4-year starter and now 5th-year starter. But how's the competition level?
I'd say, they say iron sharpens iron, and that is very true for our team. As the talent level rises as our room, as you were saying, we kind of started that trend of having very high ranked recruiting classes. And as each of those classes gets older and they become better, they're more acclimated for college wrestling, they get better, and it pushes everyone else to get better. And to be the starting guy on the team, you got to be very good. And so, yeah, having these fantastic training partners and just knowing that, if you're not ready to perform, there's a guy behind you that wants to be breaking through. So it definitely pushes you.
I know we talked about some of you older guys coming back. Might be a little bit different schedules for you guys. Is there anything going in the season? Do you think you'll be full time? You think you'll miss a duel here or there, or what's kind of the expectation leading into the year?
I think the coaches might give some of the older guys an off weekend here or there, but it's really up to them. So I don't pretend to know the mind of Pat Popolizio, but
come on,
it's a dangerous place. It's a dangerous place. But no, I expect that we will not be weighing in every time. But who am I to say?
Now, I assume you older guys, the guys that came back for the free year, you didn't have to do any of that preseason training on the track or in the stadium, right?
So yes and no. Okay. It was a little bit of a different training schedule just because we're older and making it a little bit easier on our bodies.
Well, yeah, the knees don't work like they used to.
Yeah, they're got a little age on them now. So it was a little bit different, but it was still a good preseason, good way to get us warmed up for the season and ramping things up.
We really haven't put this out there yet, but I think something fans would want to know. You've been at 65 for years, but this year it could look a little bit different. Not too positive yet, not sure what's going on, but kind of tell people what maybe your plan is right now.
Yeah, so with Hayden moving up, I'm thinking about potentially dropping to 157. It's a move that I'm looking at. I'm not for sure yet, but I'm meeting with the coaches and, looking at how everything will shake out. But that's something I'm looking at and excited about.
You were at 157 before. A lifetime ago. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
What makes you think 57 potentially could be the fit this year?
So last time I made 157, it was when my red shirt was pulled my freshman year. So I did not have any preparation for the weight cut. So it was very hard on me to make that weight throughout the whole year because I was very heavy going into that. So I didn't have time to drop, but if I did it now, I'd have time to make sure my weight is lower than it was. And I think it would work out better. But as I said, I haven't decided yet. So we'll see.
Expectations. Are you nervous to try to get down to 57? Do you think once you get there, you'll be fine? Is the first weight cut the hardest?
It's either the first or the second week. They're both tough. It's a lot of times what happens is you make weight the first time. You're like, oh, I made it. And if you relax and let your weight get a little up, then the second one's a lot harder. But if you're disciplined, the second one's easier. So it really depends on how on how disciplined you are.
Talk about that discipline. How do you know what to eat, when to eat? Is that something you have to research? Do people help you? Or is that just something you've learned over your 6 years here?
So it's definitely something I've learned, but there's also a lot of resources here and just with relationships that I've built over the years and family, actually. So we have a great sports nutrition staff that are awesome and very willing to help, advise me on what I should be eating, what I should be putting in for after weigh-ins and in my daily life. My brother is actually studying to be a registered dietitian. He's taking the test soon. He just graduated with his master's. So he's always fantastic to talk to, and him being my brother, it's someone I always need to catch up with anyways. This is my older brother, Sam, not Daniel. Just to clarify, Daniel did not graduate in sports nutrition, or I'm not sure what the degree is exactly, okay. But yeah, there's lots of resources, and it's definitely been a learning process. My freshman year, Coach Beasley really helped me with my weight descent plan and just making it every week. He was always on me about what I was eating and what I was weighing, which is what I needed at the time. But it's been a learning process. But yeah, there's tons of resources that you can help. And the coaches, the coaches have done it before, they've been through it. They've coached lots of kids that have had to make crazy weight. So there's lots of resources for guys to learn about cutting weight and doing it right.
I assume you will not be going out to dinner with Daniel when he comes up here for a duel.
Probably not.
All right. So we talked about wrestling. Let's talk about off the mat. What did you get your degree in here at NC State?
Okay. So I graduated last year with a degree in economics and business administration. And with my business administration degree, I concentrated on information technology. And then this year I am moving on into a nonprofit management certificate, which I'm very excited about. So, yeah.
We talked about that free year eligibility wise. Was it hard to find a certificate or a program to get into? And what was the process for that?
So this is actually the same one that Hayden did last year. And I was talking to him about it. He gave it glowing reviews. So I thought it would be a great idea. And nonprofits are something that I'm personally interested in. So it was a win-win for me. And so far the classes have been great. So it's been good.
Are you online, in person? What's the kind of class looking like this year?
So with the exception of the occasional week here and there, we've been in person, and twice a week there are night classes. So it's definitely a different feel for my undergraduate degrees. The students are a lot older as they're master's students, and the expectation is definitely higher, but it's very interesting stuff to learn, and so I'm thankful for it.
I ask everybody, I know you still have a whole year, but what do you think you'll be seeing yourself doing once you get out of NC State and out of wrestling?
Ooh, that's the $1 million question for me right now. I am not sure, to be honest. I know I want to stay involved with wrestling. I don't think I want to be a coach after college. I'm not positive, but as I said, I'm not really sure where things will take me after college. But besides knowing that I want to stay involved with wrestling, I'm not entirely sure.
Throw your ring at Greco?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Sounds like you're really excited for the upcoming season. Last year, you guys had a season a little bit different, no fans. We've put out the schedule. We know who's coming to Reynolds. How excited are you to get back into a packed Reynolds Coliseum?
You know, we have the greatest fans ever, so I am very thankful to go out there and be able to, you know, see everyone, and a lot of people that I haven't seen since COVID started, because I usually see them at events, and we haven't had fans. So I am very excited to be able to compete in Reynolds, you know, go at it one last time around the block, and, you know, see what we can make of it this year.
Will this be the last year at NC State?
I'm out of eligibility, so there's only so many years
That's
you can
a good
compete
point.
in college.
That's true. Thomas, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you sharing, especially with maybe, you know, change of weight class this year. You never know. We'll keep our fans updated, and good luck as you get ready to start a new year here.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for listening today. This is your Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, covering all things NC State wrestling. Until next time, Wolfpack fans, go Pack.
Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to mattalkonline.com.